actually. Might do a few new things today. So we'll just start sitting comfortably, allowing our spine to lengthen. Good. So we can start to just go inside and slow down our breath here. So eyes soft or closed, and just taking in some slower and fuller breaths, letting our body relax as we breathe, letting our mind rest on our breath, allowing the belly to relax, hips, shoulders, jaw, the tongue, brow, feeling the brow just sort of melt. Noticing lately that my brow kind of tenses up more than sort of unconsciously. Good. And just letting our body come into this space here. We might take one hand and tap the hara or the dantian as we breathe, and you might just gently tap that place underneath the navel as we breathe. A little bit of a stimulation to that center of our body. And then bringing our fingers up to our heart, we could tap gently around our heart and thymus, on the chest, waking up that immune system. And then bringing our hands up to our head and a little massage of our scalp, just letting our fingers wander around and squeeze and rub here. So we wake up our meridians, all those channels that run through our head. And then bringing our hands to our ears, maybe a little massaging and pulling, and bringing our vagus nerve on board. Also, there's all those reflexology points in the ears, right, that relate to our whole body. Getting our whole body when we rub our ears. And we can bring our finger inside and just gently pull down and hold. Breathe. And a nice full breath here. Letting the body just let go. And then arms out from our shoulders, and we'll do a little movement of our spine. Just allowing your arms to stretch forward, pulling the chest back, and then bringing the arms back and lifting our chest forward, and just kind of letting that upper part of our back get a little bit of movement here. Shoulders. So stimulating our heart chakra. And then we'll just let our arms relax down by our side and bring our feet forward into a butterfly pose. If you want to have a pillow or something under your legs, you can, of course. And we'll bring ourselves forward here and just relax over our legs, letting hips let go, letting the legs let go. Maybe massaging our feet while we're here, if you like. Give the feet a little bit of attention. Just remembering those 3 tattvas of yin, right? Coming to our edge, stillness and time. So when we come into our yin practice, we always want to remember those little rules that we follow. Very simple. Yin is a fairly simple practice, although not always easy. Right? Difference between simple and easy. Come inside and just see what's there. So we never want to have any kind of judgment or trying to change anything. Just accept. In yin, we yield and accept what is. Sometimes exploring a little bit into what we find, following threads of with our curiosity. Might find some interesting and different things going on inside of us when we take the time to totally let go and relax our mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and come up from there. And we're just going to bring our hands behind us and do a little movement of the legs and kind of let the hips relax. Everything's starting to open up here. And then we'll bring our legs into a straddle. So whatever amount of straddle feels comfortable. You can always change it. And making sure our pelvis is upright, right? We're not tilted back, otherwise sit on something. And then we'll just turn toward our left leg and relax forward over that leg. Feel free to have a bolster, a pillow, or something on top of your leg. Want to rest your arms, your head on. Always put something underneath the knees. If the hamstrings are super tight, without trying to get all the way into our full pose, just allow gravity to have our torso. And maybe our head as well, right? The head might like to hang down, and a nice stretch in the back of the neck, spine. Feel that stretch through our outer lateral part of our right hip, kind of into our side there. So this dragonfly or straddle stretch is really a good stretch for the urinary bladder meridians. Gets into the liver, kidney, and the spleen, particularly those channels. Liver and kidney run on the inside of the legs, and the urinary bladder on the underneath of the legs. And the spleen goes up the side of the body to our ribs. there's ever too much of a stretch for the sacrum and a straddle, you can always sit on a bolster, or you can just bring the legs a little closer together if the sacrum starts to hurt a little bit, or every day is different. So we want to find our edge for today. And if we reach our right hand a little bit more towards our left foot, we can also increase that stretch through the side body, or we can bring our right arm behind us and lift it up over our head and increase the stretch that way as well, if that's comfortable enough for your low back. Sometimes that you pull on the low back. You can just leave your hand here, just look forward. Okay, so we'll slowly walk ourselves up there. Take your time. We want to come out of the pose nice and easily so as not to stress our connective tissue. And then we'll turn over to the right leg. You might change your straddle if it wants to widen a little bit, or change it the other direction. And forward over the right leg. And again, just starting without forcing it, just starting to let gravity do the work here. The weight of our torso that kind of brings us into the stretch. In Chinese medicine, the liver is often referred to as the second heart. So it's extreme importance. And in some cultures, ancient cultures, the liver was referred to as the second stomach. It's responsible for digesting those finer particles after the stomach finishes digestion. Goes to the liver. The liver is responsible for circulating the blood and the chi through our body. And if the liver is not in harmony, not healthy, too much liver energy can manifest in irritability or anger. Too little liver energy can show up as sadness or depression. If you want to add more to that stretch, you can always bring your left hand behind you and face forward. Maybe bring your left arm over your head if that's comfortable enough for your low back. Adding a little bit of yang, that arm being active. And it might be for a short time or just whatever feels right on this side. Kind of nice to do a little bit of exploration in the pose sometimes. And it's also nice just to be still and not round. Either way. Obviously, the yin part is in the lower body mostly. Pose. So we're going to slowly start to come up from there, just walking the hands along the ground, come up. And once we're up, we can lean back and slide our legs together and give them a little shake, maybe lean back on your hands and yeah, whatever feels good to the legs, bounce them around. And we'll actually bring ourselves into caterpillar here. So with our legs extended in front, come forward, relax over the legs in this forward fold. So again, making sure the pelvis is upright and come forward. Otherwise, sitting on a pillow or something to lift the hips. And if hamstrings are really tight, putting something under the knees so that our bones can relax. Want to be able to totally relax the legs here. And even if it means supporting the legs under the knees. So if there's any resistance, you know, sometimes the muscles are might start to tense in a pose, and that's their job. Their job is to protect the joints, protect the ligaments, tendons. We want to get past the muscles as much as we can. And so if there's any tension or resistance, we can support. In this case, it would be the legs, right? So support the bones. And also support the upper body with pillows on top of the legs. That's another option. Totally let go in this forward fold stretch. Very nice stretch for the spine and decompression of our vertebra. If it's comfortable to really fold forward and around the whole back and head. Of course, the urinary bladder meridian is the primary meridian channel that's being stretched in this pose. It's a super long meridian channel. Goes all the way up through the back of the legs and hips and all the way up the spine and over top of the head. Might notice your body really starting to relax. Forward fold. Any forward fold naturally relaxes our body, puts us into the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so let's go ahead and slowly come up from there. Stacking our spine, and we might bring our feet in and do a little windshield wiper, leaning back on the hands. And maybe a little lifting and lowering of our hips. Just a few times. This is a new pose that we've not done before. It's a twist, and it's called Mongoose. So if you extend your left leg straight out, cross your right leg over so that your foot is on the ground, and bring your left hand behind you. Right? And we're just going to press, just finding wherever your left hand feel comfortable. Gently press into your leg with that right arm. And so you're going to kind of roll off your right hip onto your left hip. So you might need to adjust your arm and just turn and look back. Just kind of explore that. You'll feel a stretch. You might adjust your hips a little bit. So we're sort of coming up onto our left hip a bit. And it's a bit of a stretch for the psoas, right? As we twist. Meant to be more of a transition pose. We don't stay here very long. It's just a little bit of twist and a stretch for the side body. Obviously using that left arm as well to hold us up. Right, and then coming back around to face forward. Go ahead and uncross that right leg, and I'll turn my body. We're going to straighten the right leg and cross the left foot over and this right arm behind, and we're going to press into that left knee a bit. We're rolling up onto that right hip and turning back. And feel free to adjust your body however it needs to, your arm or your right leg. A mongoose is a mammal that primarily lives in Africa and Asia and is a very audacious predator. It kills those majorly venomous snakes that live there, like the king cobras, and very brave little critter. Okay, and go ahead and bring yourself around. Got a little bit of a twist in our low back as well there. And we're going to come onto our belly. So again, we're going to do something we haven't done yet. So to begin with, and you might want to have a strap handy. This is where you might need a strap, pillow as well, or folded up blanket. We're going to start by widening our legs apart. We're going to come down to rest our head on our hands eventually, but we're going to widen the knees apart, bend the legs. Think of a supine, a prone butterfly position, and bring your feet together. It's quite a major hip opener. So however wide your knees want to go here, and so you can kind of let your feet rest together, and you can just rest your forehead on your hands. And sort of like a cross between a butterfly on the belly and a frog. Just relaxing the hip here, changing the width of the knees or the legs if you need to, or just letting it be wherever. So if it does become too much, feel free to just come out of it by extending your legs out, just kind of straightening them out, bringing them back in, coming in and out of the pose. Okay, and then just by kind of slowly straightening your legs out, slowly come out, and then bring your legs towards each other. Just kind of bring them toward the center, and we'll come up onto our elbows, and we're going to do a little quad stretch. So we can grab hold of whatever leg you want to start with. And here's where you might need a strap, right, around your foot or your ankle or your calf. And just going to let this be either a more active stretch up on the arm, or you can choose to lie down and put your forehead on your arm, whatever feels right for you. But we want to kind of gently pull that heel in and sort of press the pelvis a little bit into the ground. At least to start with, and then maybe just letting it relax. Obviously, if we're lying down with our head on our arm, a little different stretch than if we are up on that elbow, or like a half bow pose. Right? Increases the stretch a little bit. So whatever feels right to you. And we won't be here too long. Then we'll come up onto our elbow if you're not there, and just let go of that leg, and we'll switch. So again, if you need a strap around the foot like I do, or grab hold of your foot or ankle. Either up on the elbow or just resting your head down, or a little bit of both. It's not only a great quad stretch, I find, but really great way to stretch across the top of the knee. Those places that we might not think about very often. I think about it because I really feel it myself. But in general, often think about stretching the top of our knee. It's a good one for that. Of course, it's a great stretch for the hip flexors and the as well as the quad muscles. So, sometimes we want to moan and groan in a yin pose, which simply means that it's working. Or sigh. A sigh is the body's way of releasing. The sigh is such a natural release. Tension. Also, this is a great stretch for the the stomach meridian, particularly, which runs across the top of the thigh and knee area. So getting into that channel as well. Stretch for the stomach channel. So we can come up onto our elbows if we're not there, and maybe gently releasing the strap if you're using one. And come into Sphinx pose from there. And we won't be here too long. You might want to come into Sphinx for a little while and then into seal. Or you could come directly into seal if you prefer. We can do any of those variations of Sphinx and seal for the next few minutes. You might put a pillow under the pelvis for support as well. Seal, their option. Pillow under the pelvis is helpful if the back bend is a little bit challenging and you want to come all the way up onto the arms. Also in Sphinx, we can lift our feet and do that variation, or put a folded up blanket under the elbows. Any of those variations. Okay, so if you are in seal, you can start to come down to Sphinx. So we'll slowly make our way up to our all fours, and time to come up onto the knees. We'll adjust our clothes and just curl the tailbone under. Okay, slowly start to round the back. You're going to probably feel that in the low back a lot from all of those poses we just did. You might press your hips back a little bit toward the heels and then come up and come into an arch, but moving gently through the arching and rounding of our spine here. Like you press the hips back a bit and up, arch. Feels good to your spine here. Then we'll come into neutral and do a little circle of the hips. Slowly circle one direction. So let everything go wherever it wants to go. And the other direction goes. And then we'll sit back into a child's pose. You are able to do that. Option is to come onto your back and hug your knees. You might like your knees together, your legs together or apart, just whatever feels good to you. Feet together or apart. Child's pose is so nourishing, and it's probably the one pose that gets into the most channels at the same time. It stretches the kidney, the liver, it compresses the stomach and the spleen. And if our arms are extended out in front, or we're getting a stretch there, we're also getting into all of our upper body meridians. We're stretching the sacrum, we're compressing the hips and the knees. It's sort of the yin pose of all yin poses. Stretching the ankles. So we'll come up from there. You are on your knees, and Come around onto our back. You might want to have a pillow under your head if that's comfortable for you. And hug your knees into your chest. Try that. Now let your body relax for a moment. And then we'll bring our feet onto the mat. And we might need a pillow or some sort of support. We're going to do another something new here. So let's cross our left leg over the right so that we're in that figure 4 position. And we're going to bring our arms out from our shoulders and sway our knees, our legs over to the left. And this is where a pillow under the left knee might be helpful so that you can relax your legs more. And keeping our right shoulder on the ground. This is a stretch that'll get into the front, more the front part of our hip and hip flexors. If our arms are a little bit lifted, and put your arms wherever you want, they're a little bit lifted on the right side, especially you'll feel more stretch in that shoulder, front of that shoulder. Might turn and look to the right if that's comfortable for your neck, or you might prefer to look to the left, or just look up, whatever the head and neck feel comfortable doing. It changes the stretch a little bit. And we're going to lift our legs up to the top in this position. And maybe kind of center the hips a bit. And we're going to sway our legs over to the right now. So that left foot comes onto the ground. And the left knee is pointed up and the left shoulder's on the ground. So now we'll feel a stretch in our side body on the left and down through that side of a little bit in the lateral back part of our hip. And then we'll lift our legs up again to center. Maybe adjust your hips so they're centered and reach through the legs. You might curl up and reach through to grab hold of your thigh, thread those arms through and pull your right leg in, pressing against the left knee a little bit with your elbow. Open hip. If there's any stress on that left knee, just flex your left foot. But if you don't need to, you can just let it relax. You might like to curl up and add a little bit of a back stretch to that. Well, if we just gently and slowly sort of rock our legs over to the right a little bit, you'll notice how that increases the stretch through the IT band and that whole outer side of the leg and hip on the left side. Another option, you can kind of move the body a little bit to the right. I like to do a slow rocking to the right and then back to center. Whatever feels good to get that hip stretch. And then we'll bring our right foot back down to the ground and uncross the legs. Cross the right leg over. If you might need a pillow under that leg, you can prepare with that pillow on the right side and sway over to the right. Arms out wherever they want to be, maybe slightly up to increase the stretch a little bit. Just let the legs relax here. This is one of those stretches that gets into areas and ways that are kind of hard to get to, right inside the inner hip flexor groin area, inner thigh. Also a different way to twist the lower spine. You might feel your legs getting heavier as they relax in this position, adding even more stretch into that side area of the hip and side body, down that left hip. Okay, and then we'll bring our legs back up, maybe center the hips a little bit and sway over to the left, bringing our right foot onto the ground. Left knee up. If the left knee will go up, point up toward the ceiling. Find that if you sort of kind of encourage that right leg up and forward a bit, so instead of coming towards you this way, it's sort of pushing it a little bit that way. You'll feel an increase in the stretch through that right outer leg and hip. Okay, let's go ahead and bring our legs back up and center our hips, and then reach through, grab hold of our left leg, either on the thigh. You might even grab hold of your shin, might curl up to give a little stretch to the back. Maybe exploring that stretch too by letting the body slowly sort of rock over to the left a little bit and feeling how that changes the stretch. Back and forth, or feels good to your body here, your hip. And slowly start to come out by bringing our left foot down and uncrossing the legs. And you might want to just hug your knees in and rock around a little bit, or whatever feels good, any movement that feels good to the body here. And then we'll come into a little bit of a Shavasana to integrate. So lying on the back and relaxing, just feeling your body, just noticing your breath. Just noticing how we feel, feeling the energy circulating throughout the body, feeling the breath a little slower and more relaxed, maybe the mind a little bit more relaxed after that practice. And with new stretches that the body might not be used to, you might notice different sensations in your hips and your low back area. Giving thanks to our body and giving thanks to our breath. And giving thanks to Gaia, the Mother, for supporting us as we move through life. Feel free to get up slowly or continue lying down. Thank you all for coming.